Today, we are talking about how to optimize your business online. Now, if you are saying, what the heck does that even mean, optimize, then you are in the right place. Or if you have a general idea but are ready to dive in deeper, we will help by talking about where to focus your efforts and our favorite tools to optimize your business online. I am joined today by two of my colleagues, two other entrepreneurs who run their own businesses, and they also work with businesses on their branding, on their visual branding, Adam and Paul. Let's introduce you guys, starting with you, Adam.
Hey, I'm Adam. I'm the co-founder of 360 Photo and Design. We are a commercial photography and design brand here in the Lansing area.
And I'm Paul Schmidt. I'm the owner and creative video strategist for UnoDeuce Multimedia. We do video storytelling for nonprofit organizations and small businesses.
Okay, guys, thank you so much for joining us today to talk to our audience about building your brand and optimizing your brand. So let's talk about this, because optimization is a loaded term, because each social media platform, each online directory, each search engine has its own rules or algorithm to help people find you and to connect with you. And that's what we're talking about when we use the term optimize. It is all about helping the right people to find you. So this just needs to be said. Anyone out there who tells you that they know all of the secrets for SEO doesn't. They are kept secret for a reason so that no one hijacks the system. For instance, when you search for new furniture, you don't want to see pest control come up in your search feed. You want to be, in fact, as specific as possible so that you find what you're actually looking for. So as businesses, we have to play by the rules in order to make sure that we are being found online by our target customers. And in order to play by the rules, we need to first know what the rules are. Adam, I want to start with you. We know that people like visuals, photos and video. So why don't you start, maybe like throw some stats at us. Why should we use photos with every single social media post, for example?
Well, when we post things online, we want engagement. We want people to do something with them. And statistics show us that 87% of engagement on Facebook happens with posts with photos. So if you're just using text, you're really losing your audience. Now, more than just one photo can be beneficial too, because if you actually have an album, that bumps it up another 13%, really making it a lot more effective if you're using visuals than if you're just doing posts with just text.
That makes a lot of sense to me. And we know it's not just Facebook either, Adam. Twitter, according to Twitter, videos, posts with tweets with videos and photos get the most retweets, which is what we're looking for as businesses, to get more eyes on our content and more people engaging with their content to help more people to see it. So Paul, let's talk about video, because Adam, focused on images there, but video gets even more engagement. Talk about that.
Well, video gets more engagement because of the simple fact that it's both audio and visual. And so on Facebook alone, if you count just the direct uploads with the live streaming aspect of what the video on Facebook is doing, because that's still an extremely viable way of getting your message across, the live, it's about 8 billion views a day on Facebook alone with that. And that's Facebook using the video. When you get to YouTube and all the other platforms, then it just rises exponentially, the viewership.
And Paul and Adam, I just want to point out that we have people joining us and asking questions. Thank you so much, guys, for joining us. Feel free to give us a like, a thumbs up, and thank you for your questions. We will be answering all of these questions towards the end with some Q&A. So I don't want you to feel like we are skipping over your questions, because we're definitely going to come back to them for sure. Okay, so Paul, you were talking about video engagement being high on social media.
Right.
And all of this is true, by the way, for other forms of marketing, like email marketing. We know that studies show that simply using the word video in the subject line of an email can increase open rates by 19%. Although we suggest if you're going to use the word video in the subject line, that you should actually have video in the email. And then consumers, of course, we've known this for a long time, but some of you may not know at home, consumers are 64% more likely to buy a product after watching a video about it. But it's not just enough to have photos and videos. We have to be using them, for one, and coding them correctly. And by coding, that's where we start to talk about how we optimize them. And coding, by the way, can be simply in the text that we're using to describe the video. So, Paul, I'd like to go back over to you. Let's start with YouTube. First of all, tell us, why should businesses be on YouTube?
Well, first and foremost, it's the second most used search engine in the world, and it is owned by the first most used search engine in the world, Google. And so therefore, Google indexes video, Google likes video, because Google owns YouTube. So right there, if you're not indexing your video appropriately on the two most used search engines, where are you? That's just bottom line. Your video should be on YouTube to take advantage of what they've built.
Absolutely. So if you're going to take the time to do video, you want to get the most out of it, right? Get the most bang for your buck. So Paul, can you talk us through what are some of the steps that we should take to optimize our videos on YouTube?
Well, to start off, it's basically 3 steps. And in fact, when you upload a video, YouTube gives you that first step right away. And that first step is to fill out a good title that includes the name of your organization or what you're trying to get people to watch. It should be in that title. Number 2, fill out a description. It doesn't need to be more than 250 words, but it needs to have something in there with the keywords that go along with what the video is about. Just a short little description about what the video is. And you can include links that are clickable in that description. And the next step in that step 1 is creating keywords, 5 to 6 keywords that go along with what the subject matter is doing. It's very simple. This is the next step you can do after you upload a video. The step number 2 is they give you the ability to upload your own thumbnail. And I highly recommend doing that. Create your own thumbnail and don't deal with the arbitrary stills that YouTube gives you, which is right underneath the keyword section of uploading your video. So if you make a thumbnail using tools like Canva or Photoshop or anything like that, create your own thumbnail that draws attention to your video. And lastly, have closed captioning. Do that for the simple fact that closed captioning will be indexed by YouTube as another search tool because of the words that are in there. It indexes it. Now, if you're going to use YouTube's free tool, you get what you pay for. So that means you may have to proofread it and update it and get it done that way, or use a company like rev.com to provide you that tool to upload to your video site. And like I said, YouTube will index that as well as part of that whole search function. And that just makes it, those 3 steps right there will exponentially make your video found quicker.
And Paul, I'm really glad that you mentioned, YouTube obviously has this free closed captioning tool, which is great, but you have to go back and look at it. Just yesterday, I posted a video about someone was talking about her condo, and all throughout this video testimonial, she's talking about condo, and YouTube changed the word condo to pandas. And so it doesn't quite have the same meaning there. And that's the last thing we want to do is have a whole video, people searching for pandas, finding our video about condos. Okay, so Paul, I want to ask you one more question. So is there one major don't do for optimizing on YouTube? Is there something you see that maybe like just jumps out at you as something that we should not be doing when we're optimizing our videos?
Yes, and this is something I advise my clients all the time, whether they listen or not. That's on them, but I tell them this: when we create a video for them, we don't necessarily title it the way it's supposed to be titled when it goes to the public. We title it in a certain version, whatever. It has all these letters and acronyms that don't mean anything to anybody. And sometimes those get uploaded and that's the default title if you don't change the title. And nobody knows how to search for ACR flowers or MP4, and seeing that gibberish title is just, at least change the title, because if you do that and somebody search with your company and somebody searches for your company, at least that may be found. If you don't change that title, that's one of the aspects that's not going to help it be found. Another thing is, make sure that, sorry, I don't mean to talk over, but make sure that your video is set to public. Because sometimes if it's set to unlisted, that means the video you can stumble across it, but it's not necessarily going to be found in the search algorithms. And if it's set to private, nobody's going to see it. So make sure your video is set to public and make sure you title it appropriately. Those are the biggest things you can do first off.
Great tips, Paul. And by the way, there's no such thing as going long. We're live on Facebook, so we can take all day if we want. I mean, I don't know that our viewers want that, but
hey. I can go all day.
I bet you can. Okay, so different from video, but also a really great tool for optimization is a Google 360 tour. Adam, this is your area of expertise. So tell us, first of all, what is a Google 360 tour and how can we use it to optimize our Google business listing?
So it kind of blends still image with video. And a lot of people sometimes confuse it with being video because it's still images that Google lets you navigate in a way that's kind of like a choose your own adventure through a business. So we'll take a series of 360 images throughout different parts of a business, and then you can click around on it, just like you would on Google Maps to maybe look at your old house or go down a street. We bring that same technology into a business and lets them walk around. So you got a restaurant, maybe you're wanting to see, hey, what kind of seating areas do they have? Do they have a patio? You know, what can where would I like to sit? Where is a bad seat by the bathrooms or by the kitchen? People are intimidated by going into a business for the first time. They may drive by it 1,000 times, but they may not go in the front door because they're just not sure what they're going to experience there. So a 360 image really optimizes your business online because it takes that barrier of entry down. They're already seeing what's in your front door. And then they feel more confident, like, oh, now I know exactly what I'm going to get into when I go into that front door. And that means more people come into your front door.
Okay, Adam. So, and I'm going to quickly throw up your website onto the screen here because you have a lot of examples of what these virtual tours look like on your website. So go to 360photoanddesign.com and you can look through some examples there of virtual tours. So Adam, it makes sense that if I'm going to post this 360 virtual tour that for me, I'm going to come to you because I know that I need a professional to get this done. But are there any tools out there that would help us to do this, especially for a business owner who's just starting? Or what are your thoughts on the tools that are out there?
Yeah, there is a Street View app. So Google makes it an app called Street View, and it will let you take your cell phone and spin around and go up and down and create a 360 image. And it will show the inside of your store. But like any photo, you know, there's a difference between a professional photo and one that you've taken on your iPhone. And it will always look like a photo on your iPhone. You'll have stitching errors and it won't be a good brand ambassador because that's really what imagery is. It's an ambassador for you and your brand. And so we make sure that you look the best. Another thing that we can do that's not generally available is connecting those 360 images together. So if you walk in the front door, you know, you can walk into the lobby, you know, you can pass that and you can go further into the business. And that's one thing that we are allowed to do, being Google trusted photographers, that allows us to really enhance the walkthrough aspect of the business. And that choose your own adventure is more than just spinning around in one space. It's actually walking around.
I really like that idea of choose your own adventure. That's a great way to put it. So Adam, we do see a lot of businesses that post their own photos. What are your thoughts on businesses and how posting your own photos versus professional photos or actually having a photo shoot done, how does this affect the online presence?
It's about how people see you. I mean, again, it's about being that brand ambassador. So you've got a way that you want to be perceived, and it's not always easy to represent a business effectively. So people recognize when you've got bad lighting, when you've got, you know, grainy images, if they're blurry, if they're not if they don't look good, they don't make you look good. And so that's really what about professionalism is. It's about making you look the best that you can, because people are fickle. They go by first impressions, and your first impression is going to be those images. It's going to be those videos. It's the things that really stand you apart and show you in the best light. So if you're not doing that right, well, then you're giving a bad first impression, and that's dangerous to your brand.
And hard to get over a bad first impression for sure, especially if your competition's getting it right. You certainly don't want to fall behind. Paul, I want to jump back over to you and talk about video again. And let's move from talking about, we've talked about social media, we've talked about search engines. Let's talk now about on our actual website. So I know all of this we're optimizing our website so that people get to our website, which is where hopefully they're making those purchasing decisions to choose us and buy our services or products. So Paul, how many videos? If I'm just getting started, what is there a target number? Is there a goal I need to aim for? Is there a magic number? How many videos do I need on my website?
For the most part, I would say you should have a video on each page of your website. Most websites, you know, have what you think 7 to 10 pages. I know that there's some that go on and on and on, but those 7 to 10 key pages should have a website either describing who you are, what you're doing, or what you serve, how you do it, why you do what you do, and that type of thing. For the simple fact is because people may go to that page first. They may not go to the home page first. It all depends on how they find your website or what you're sending out at that point in time. Maybe you want people to go to that page first. So you should have a video there as part of the whole, you know, on that, what do they call it? Top of the fold, that first third of the page. So therefore, I would say that's crucial. A video should be a part of each of those pages.
Okay, I can buy into that. I mean, we have to have images on each of the web pages, so videos on each of the pages. It's also important, I think, to point out, you know, from mConnexions' point of view, that Google does give greater weight to photos and videos on your website. So because we know that people are engaging with photos and videos, meaning people want to see it, Google and through your website wants to give people what they want. Right? So in order to give people what they want, it then kind of weighs more within the algorithm. So in order to make sure that you're getting the most out of these photos and videos, you need to make sure that you're coding them correctly so that Google knows what they are. So of course, with artificial intelligence or AI, Google is starting to be able to read these images. But still, it's not very in-depth. So for instance, if we talk about how we want to be as specific as possible. So at the very beginning, I talked about that example of, you know, someone searching for furniture online. Well, it's not enough anymore to just simply be labeled as furniture. If you own a niche furniture store, if it's custom furniture, if you have non-toxic fabrics. These are all very specific things that people are searching for. So when you put a video or photo on your website of furniture, you can't simply call it furniture. You need to be as descriptive as possible. So in order to do that, we use what are called alt tags and descriptions, titles, to tell Google what these images and videos show. So Adam, I'm going to jump back over to you. What can I do to make sure that I'm using some of these online tools effectively so that Google knows what it is that I'm posting?
So, I mean, if you've got a picture of an item on a menu or your hair salon and you've got a picture of that, I mean, putting those descriptions in the file name, even putting your brand name in the file name. And then, like you mentioned, as we upload to our websites, they have options for descriptions. They have options for these tags. And so if you want to get the most out of those images, really the most bang for your buck with those so that they're searchable in Google Images, they're searchable and they connect to your website, you know, you want to have those those descriptions filled out properly, those tags filled out appropriately. And you really don't have a limit to the number that you have. You don't want to put things that aren't true about it, but the better description that you have, the better it is for people to find them and for Google to know, hey, this person over here, they're looking for this thing that you have. And so they're going to put you in the search results for it because Google wants to be useful and they want to show them things that you're showing them. So use the tags.
Absolutely. And I will say, Adam, that that's one thing that we see at mConnexions all the time. So one of the things that we're hired to do is to work with businesses who want to be found online. That's something that we specialize in, and we use our content marketing to do that. So within our content marketing, we of course have video and images and written text content. And often, very often, we find businesses who think they're optimizing and think that they're doing everything right. But alt tags, like you just described, and descriptions, and even titles, they might be filled out correctly, but they may not be, or they might be filled out, it may not be blank on the coding of their site, but it's not necessarily filled out correctly. So it's really important, and there are a lot of resources out there. So if you are still at a DIY stage where you are doing that optimization work yourself, there are tools out there to help you to do that, but make sure that you're doing some research. We have a lot of blogs on our website. SEO for Beginners is one of them. So go ahead and take a look at that, and it will get you started with how to start filling out some of those descriptions. Now, before we go to the Q&A portion, we promised to share with you some of our best resources, some of our own tools of the trade that we like to use for our own clients. So Paul, let's start with you. What are some of your favorite tools that you use?
Tools specifically for video SEO and figuring out how your video is doing, so on and so forth. There's a couple of tools that I like to use. Number one is a tool called Sife, and that's just a dashboard to really keep track of how your video is doing engagement-wise. How many views, how many comments, likes, and subscribes, so on and so forth, so that you can see how your channel actually is doing and how the videos are doing within that channel. Another one that goes in depth on each video as you upload it and gives you tips and tricks while your video is just launching it's called TubeBuddy, TubeBuddy, and that keeps track of all your videos on an individual basis to see how they're ranking and how they're doing over time, immediately, so on and so forth. They give you hints on keywords you can use that could go against the keywords that you're using currently for that video. And yeah, those are really cool tools. They do have free editions, but of course, as with any freemium software, there's always the paid upgrades that you can get to really dive deeper. But yeah, start out with those and just see how they work for you and see if that's the type of measurement you want to use, so on and so forth. But those are a couple tools that I find very, very important to track how a video is doing.
Awesome. Okay, Adam, what are some of your favorite tools? Let's jump over to you. Tools or resources that you use for optimizing.
So we use WordPress for our website development, and WordPress is a great one because it's Google friendly, and there's a plugin. So you've got WordPress that holds your website and kind of gives people the way it looks, but then there's all these little plugins that can go and really make it better. So one of them, my favorite ones, is called Yoast SEO. It's YOAST, and it allows you to fill out those descriptions better about your pages, to give keywords, and really to analyze your text and see, is it readable? Is it easy to follow? Does it have keywords that link to what you're trying to say? Are you having a focus keyword? And it kind of guides you through those things. And it makes the job a lot easier of really optimizing a particular web page or blog to have the best really tags and things like that to make sure you're doing things effectively. And then it'll give you little red flags. It's got like traffic lights. I've got a green page. Well, then I've done my job. I've done all the things I need to. If I'm at orange or red, like it'll tell me why am I not optimized enough for what I have presented on my website. So I really like that one.
I can totally agree with you, Adam. Yoast is one that our team uses. We install it on all of our clients' WordPress websites. Really great tool. Another one that I will share is called SEM Rush, and it's one of a handful of tools that we use for search engine optimization and pay-per-click. It really helps us with competitive research and content marketing. So for keywords, it's one that you have to pay for. There is a free trial, I think, as Paul had talked about with his, and same thing with Yoast SEO also has a free version, but then for more bells and whistles, you can upgrade, and we are not paid for any of these. So these are just tools that we use for our own companies and our teams, our clients. So also for social media, we have some go-to resources that we use when we're looking in a hurry to add tags or hashtags, and we're really looking to optimize our social media content. And it's important to mention these as well because social media also plays into Google's algorithm. And so the more optimized you are on social media, it will also help you optimize even your Google listing online. So I actually threw together a blog. Let me put this up here for you. So if you go to mConnexions.com/SMT, SMT, Social Media Toolkit is what that stands for. So mConnexions.com/SMT, we've put together some resources for you there, a whole list of resources actually. So you'll have links to all of these and some more resources there from each of us. So let's open it up now to questions. I need to scroll through and look at our comments. Any questions? And Paul and Adam, any questions that you want to throw at each other? This is, gloves off on this. Oh, thanks. Okay, so Stephanie says, great resources. Thank you. Oh, I know. Okay, so earlier, Paul, you touched on closed captioning, and one of our viewers commented that not only is closed captioning important for those who just don't want to listen to the video, but it's also important for those who can't watch or listen to, or can't listen to the video. So that's really important to mention as well. Another one of our partners at Second Brain Collective works strictly on website accessibility and making all of these platforms that we use in the online world accessible to everyone. And it's important to know that just like we need to have wheelchair ramps in front of our businesses, we also need to be making our businesses accessible online. So keep that in mind, especially when you're posting video and images, that they need to be able to be read, for instance, by a screen reader. So that's something to keep in mind. Okay, any questions, you guys? Adam, Paul, do you have any questions or comments for our viewers while I look through here?
I always like to call some of the things we do kind of like treasure hunting. And that's one of the cool things about what I've been doing with the Google 360 stuff, because we have all these cool businesses in town, especially ones who don't have the best first impression, like from the outside, but they're like amazing on the inside. And so that's been fun for me, just kind of like getting to see them. So we have a whole interactive resource on our website of all the businesses we've done locally in the mid-Michigan area. And so it's got an interactive map, and you can click on one and say, hey, what is that, and where are the 360 images for it? So that's one thing I'd throw out there. And we just put that description up on the screen for you. 360photoanddesign.com/Google-Street-View-Trusted. So there you go. You can copy that down now. Yeah, that's my great SEO optimized tag or page name there, but just 360photoanddesign.com will get you right there too.
And then just look for the Google Street View. Yeah, awesome.
Yep.
Okay, so we did have one question here, and Adam, I think this is going to kind of come over to you and I here. So Katie wants to know, how likely is it for people to click through an entire album? So up towards the very beginning, we were talking about, how pictures win out over just content on social media, and when possible, put those pictures in an album and share the album. So Adam, how likely, I know this is kind of an arbitrary question, but brings up a really good point on placement of photos and where you put them in the album if you want people to see them.
Yeah, the problem is people get bored quick. So we know that in at least our 360 albums, people are not doing more than 11. So like 11 click-throughs to them. I'm not sure how that translates to Facebook albums specifically, but we do know that if you have something really important that you want people to really go to, you should prioritize it. So that doesn't mean that you can ignore and just do filler at the end, because there are going to be those who are interested in going through the whole thing. But if you got ones that you really like, pictures that you really like, put them up close. And especially in that first like preview of the album in Facebook, I noticed that those get a lot more click-throughs if I have my first 2, 3, 4, 5 images that show up. Maybe I have 10 in an album, but those first couple ones, they really are what drawing people in, and hopefully they're wanting to get more into the album after seeing those few.
Adam, follow-up question from Katie here. How many photos would you post at a time? Do you tend to post them all at once? Do you space them out? Do you have a strategy to that?
Yeah, I mean, I like to do at least 6, and that's really just an arbitrary number that I've picked because I like to have the click more button that shows up, because if you only do 3 on Facebook, then there's nowhere for people to go. They see the thumbnails, they're not likely to click on the album, but I want it to have that, like, you know, show 3, 4 images and then have more for them to go to so that they can really see to it. So somewhere between 6 and 10, I feel, is my sweet spot that I've found with my clients.
Okay, awesome. I like that, Adam. That makes sense. Paul, this next question is for you. This comes from Stephanie. What is the optimum length for videos? And of course, this answer is going to vary depending on where you're posting the videos, but she says, is it 30 seconds, 1 minute? And how long is too long?
This question gets asked a lot, and it really does depend on where you want to place the video, because social media versus your website are 2 different audiences. Social media also has you trained to keep moving. So going over 2 minutes and on social media, especially for a video that's uploaded, may be a bit much. For the simple fact that if the stats say you have a longer engagement period with video if it's up to 2 minutes, but anything beyond that or anything less than that is off. But also you have to recognize, if you're doing ads on social media, you're locked into a 60-second time frame. So you're locked in there. When it comes to your website, you want people to stay on your website. And so having it a little bit longer into, you know, the 3-minute time frame will be okay. And so that's the thing. Plus, you're putting more into those videos that go into your website, and there's a little bit more information, and people are obviously coming there for this information. So that can go a little bit longer. I'm not saying you put a 30-minute video on the website, but you have to understand that that's a different platform. And so we're really weirdly trained when it comes to the different platforms and how we interact with them. So you have to figure on the videos being the same way. So if you're on social media, think shorter, well, whereas the YouTube website aspect of it, you can go a little longer. So that is the online. So, you know, the statistic that Julie had earlier about people stay on your site 88% longer if there's a video there or something like that. It's just it because you're watching this video for 3 minutes right there, and if you have 3 or 4, you can get lost in this rabbit hole of your company, which is what you want.
Right. Click video after video after video. Put them into a playlist. Keep it going. And I'm going to jump in too, because it's so funny. I feel, you know, I've got like the angel, well, maybe angels on both shoulders for this one, because there's one side of me that really, you know, you focus on your viewers, right? The people that are watching, because at the end of the day, they are our clients or our potential clients. And so you really care about what they're going to watch, how long they're going to watch. And so, like you said, you have to think of their attention span. But then on the other shoulder, we've got this whole algorithm, angel, we'll call it, over here. And so we also have to pay attention to what the algorithms think people want. And of course, those algorithms are always changing. The latest from Facebook, so for a while, Facebook was really trending right around 2 minutes. The latest very recently from Facebook is now 3 minutes. So if you hit that 3-minute mark with a Facebook video, Facebook says it will show it to more people. Of course, that is always subject to change. So don't necessarily go out and change your strategy from 2 minutes to 3 minutes, because we never know when it might go back. But that's something that Facebook has recently said, is that that's now the 3-minute mark. But what that does tell us, oftentimes we like to do little teaser videos. Now those videos, right, more people would have seen that even at a short 15, 10 seconds or so than just a simple text post or a post with an image, because it's just for the simple fact that it's video. So it plays into the algorithm higher than the other posts. I wasn't on my game, so I didn't do that. But those teasers don't, in the long run, they don't count as much as those longer videos, so the 2 or 3 minute videos. So when you're really looking to have engagement and really create longer lasting engagement, or engagement that's going to reach a more extensive audience, you're going to want to hit that longer mark. So if you have, for instance, in your strategy that every single week you're going to do a Facebook Live, or maybe you're not going to do it live, you're just going to post a video on Facebook, you're going to want to shoot for that longer 2 to 3 minute video instead of a 15-second video, if that makes sense. So again, yeah, definitely playing to the algorithms, and the other social media algorithms are different. So it really depends on where you are. Instagram limits how much time you get. So if you're doing an IGTV video post, you only have up to a certain amount of time. You only have, 10 minutes or 15 minutes? I don't ever post that long, so I don't know. My team knows, but so you have, like, they limit how much time you get. For the actual stories, you get only a couple minutes unless you do back-to-back videos. So again, there you have the attention span of your audience in mind. So it's kind of that catch-22. You have to think of your audience and what does your audience want, and you also have to think of the algorithms and what's going to help your audience to see the video or the photos in the first place. Any other questions, you guys? I think this is about wrapping us up. Paul, Adam, any final thoughts?
No, this is good. I learned some things from you, Paul, and you too, Julie. Thank you.
Well, you're always a tome of knowledge there, Adam. And I just want people to understand, like we just talked about it, is like you really have to think about your social media audience and what you do with your website as a different audience. You really, because one is you're front facing to the world. And that's where you really have to have the most polish, like Adam said earlier. This is where you have to have the most polish. Whereas social media is already a built-in community that you've developed that already got through that polish. You made a good first impression. They're your fan. They're your followers. So, but at the same time, it's a community that's in constant conversation. So don't keep it too awkwardly long. So just keep that in mind when you're trying to build this media for your organization.
Good.
And recognize that these rules are always changing on us. That's why I always love when we have these conversations, Paul and Adam, because we all benefit from working together on these. So UnoDeuce, 360 Photo and Design, and mConnexions are all strategic partners through a collaborative effort called Second Brain Collective. We're all independent businesses. We each have our own niche. Video, of course, with Paul, photography and virtual tours with Adam, and of course, marketing with mConnexions. And we have several other businesses that are also a part of our organization. So we really work together as our clients need expertise from the other, so that we're providing information just like this to all of our clients. So you can learn more about all of us online at secondbraincollective.com. And if you have any follow-up questions from today, anything that we didn't have time to get to, or anything that you think of later, refer back to our blogs. All of our contact information is on our websites as well. And so you can always reach us there and ask follow-up questions. Paul, Adam, thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you all next time.